Imagine waking up in the middle of a desert, where daytime temperatures can reach 49 degrees Celsius. No air conditioning, no electric fans, no modern machine to rescue you from the heat. Yet thousands of years ago, ancient Egyptians found ways to rest through brutal summers along the Nile. Their secret was not one miraculous invention, but an entire system of clever adaptations. Homes designed to breathe, ventilated beds, lightweight linen, and daily habits shaped around the rhythm of the desert. But what truly allowed them to sleep comfortably through those scorching nights? The answer is far more ingenious than you might expect. The first line of defense against the Egyptian heat was not in the bedroom. It was the house itself. Ancient Egyptian homes were commonly built from mudbrick, a material made from Nile mud and other organic ingredients. During the scorching day, thick walls helped slow the movement of heat into the living spaces. Then, as the desert cooled after sunset, the building gradually released that stored warmth. But the real ingenuity appeared above the roof. Some structures used a wind-catching system known as the malkaf. Rising above the building, it was designed to capture prevailing winds and direct moving air downward into the rooms. High openings could also help hot air escape as it naturally rose toward the ceiling. Think about what that means. Instead of using electricity to fight the climate, the building itself was designed around the climate. And this is where ancient Egyptian architecture becomes surprisingly modern. The goal was not to make the outside world disappear. It was to guide wind, shade, heat, and airflow in ways that created a more comfortable interior. By nightfall, when the desert finally began surrendering its heat, the house became a carefully engineered shelter, quiet, dark, and naturally ventilated. But there was another problem. Even inside a cooler room, the body still had to lose heat. And the ancient Egyptians had a remarkably simple solution for that, too: the bed. Now step inside the ancient bedroom. Imagine lying down after a long, exhausting day beneath the Egyptian sun. The bed beneath you looks surprisingly simple, but its design reveals a sophisticated understanding of airflow. One surviving example belonged to Ha and Merit, a couple associated with Egypt's 18th dynasty. Instead of a thick, solid mattress, the sleeping surface used a woven structure made from leather strips or plant fibers. Air could move through the open framework rather than becoming trapped beneath the body. That mattered in a hot climate. Your back is one of the largest surfaces of the body, and when it presses against a dense mattress, heat and moisture can accumulate. A ventilated sleeping surface allowed air to circulate underneath. Then comes the strangest object of all, the wooden headrest, known as a ruse. At first glance, it looks painfully hard. But its raised, curved design supported the head while leaving the neck elevated and exposed to moving air. It could also help protect elaborate hairstyles from being crushed during sleep. And there was something symbolic about it too. The curved shape was associated with the horizon, or Akhet, the place where the sun appeared between two mountains. For the Egyptians, sleep was not simply the end of the day. It was a nightly journey. And their next secret involved something much softer than wood: linen. Now comes one of the most surprising connections between ancient Egypt and modern life. Today, social media sometimes promotes something called the Egyptian sleep method: dampening a lightweight sheet with cool water, wringing it out, and using it as a cooling layer while sleeping. The principle is simple. Evaporating water absorbs heat from the surrounding surface, creating a cooling effect. But there is an important distinction. There is no solid evidence that ancient Egyptians actually followed the modern method exactly as it appears on social media. What we do know is that linen was central to Egyptian life. Made from flax, linen was lightweight, breathable, and highly absorbent. In a hot environment, those qualities were extremely valuable. Instead of trapping sweat against the skin like heavier fabrics can, a loose linen garment could encourage airflow and help moisture move away from the body. And imagine the difference at night. A person lying beneath a thick, heat-retaining fabric would remain surrounded by warmth. But a light linen covering allowed the skin to breathe while the night air moved through the room. It was not a magical fabric. It was simple material science, combined with an environment designed for airflow. Yet the Egyptians still needed one more weapon against the heat. And this time, it came from something as ordinary as clay. So how did ancient Egyptians keep water cool when there was no refrigerator anywhere in sight? The answer began with clay. Porous clay vessels could allow tiny amounts of water to reach the outer surface. When that water evaporated, it carried heat away with it, naturally cooling the remaining water inside. Containers such as the zir and kula are associated with this evaporative cooling principle. Now imagine placing one of these vessels where moving air could pass over it. The breeze would accelerate evaporation, making the cooling effect even stronger. But the Egyptians had another unusual tradition: scented cones worn on the head, particularly in artistic depictions of elite banquets. Made from fragrant substances, these cones were traditionally interpreted as melting gradually in the heat and releasing perfume. And then there were insects. Near the Nile, mosquitoes and other insects could make nighttime miserable. Burning aromatic substances and plant materials produced smoke and fragrance that may have helped make sleeping areas more comfortable. But here's the question for you. If you had to survive a 49 degrees Celsius summer without electricity, which ancient solution would you choose? Wind-catching architecture? A ventilated bed? Cool clay vessels? Or lightweight linen? Tell us your choice in the comments. Because the Egyptians had one final strategy that may have been just as important as all the technology: changing the way they organized sleep itself. For the ancient Egyptians, surviving the heat was not simply about making a room cooler. It was also about changing their relationship with time. During the hottest hours of the day, intense physical activity could become exhausting. Resting during the peak heat and beginning important activities earlier in the morning allowed people to work with the environment rather than constantly fighting against it. At night, the situation changed. As the sun disappeared, temperatures gradually fell. Air began moving through buildings, and the coolest hours often arrived before sunrise. This created a natural opportunity for deeper rest. Sleep, however, was not necessarily viewed through the same modern expectation of one uninterrupted block of 8 hours. The outline suggests that ancient Egyptians may have experienced forms of segmented rest, although the evidence for a standardized Egyptian sleep schedule is limited. And there was another dimension to nighttime: the spiritual world. For Egyptians, dreams could carry meaning, and sleep represented a vulnerable state between ordinary life and the supernatural. Protective objects and amulets were therefore associated with sleeping spaces, intended to guard people from danger and bad dreams. So while the walls protected the body from heat, and linen helped the skin breathe, symbols and rituals were meant to protect the mind. But perhaps the greatest lesson lies beyond the bedroom. Because thousands of years later, we are once again searching for ways to stay comfortable as temperatures rise. Today, we depend heavily on air conditioners that consume enormous amounts of electricity. Ancient Egyptians took a different approach. They designed their homes around the climate. Mudbrick walls slowed heat. Wind-catching structures encouraged airflow. Ventilated beds reduced trapped warmth. And lightweight linen helped the body breathe. None of these methods was magical. Together, they formed a clever system of passive cooling. And perhaps that is the real lesson. When temperatures rise, technology does not always have to mean more machines. Sometimes, the smartest solution is to understand the environment and work with it. So the next time you face a brutally hot night, remember the people who slept beside the Nile thousands of years ago. They did not conquer the heat. They learned how to live with it.